Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Testing on Mobile Devices with Location Services. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping notes so you know how to participate in today's event. You should see your Zoom webinar control panel at the bottom of the Zoom window. Please use the Q&A feature to submit questions for today's presenter, EL. In addition to submitting your own questions there, you'll also be able to view and upvote questions submitted by other attendees. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation, and we'll answer as many as we can during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. If you have any technical issues or need support during the event, you can contact us via the Zoom chat or email us at webinar@sourcelabs.com. Finally, I'd like to remind everyone that today's presentation is being recorded and you'll receive an email with the links to view the recording and slides following the event. And now it's my pleasure to introduce EL. EL is a solutions architect at Source Labs, where he works with organizations to improve their testing practices. He has a passion for learning new technologies and test frameworks. Without further ado, I will pass this over to EL.
Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar about testing on mobile devices with location services. My name is EL and I'm a solution architect at Source Labs. Since we have only 1 hour, I want to mention from this slide that I'm from London, and therefore most of my examples include locations from London and websites of companies that are based in the UK. After all, the webinar is about location services. The agenda, these are the topics that I want to cover. Introductions about location services, how to change my geolocations manually, how to change it using Appium Desktop, automate end-to-end user flow for iOS, for Android, and how to execute these scenarios. What is the difference when we automate a flow with location services for web apps, and about Geo-IP. So when I start writing the slides about this webinar, I actually didn't know how to start. And I wasn't sure if to start with what is location services or why actually we need location services during our testing. So we talk about what is location services and why we need it for testing together. So let's say I am in the QA teams of Metrobanks or in the QA teams of Royal Mail. Both are UK companies, and I want to test a scenario that includes clicking on the, as you click here, if you can see that, clicking on the use my locations and verify that that functionality is working as expected. And what I'm meaning with that, the meaning is that I want to get the stores or services, or it can be restaurants according to my current locations. And of course, I want to be able to verify that I'm getting the right list of services around me. And I can run this test manually or develop and run automated script. First, let us understand what actually happens when I click on use my location. Okay, so in our device, we have a GPS receiver that get our location from GPS satellites. But with GPS receiver, it can take up to a minute each and every time we get new data. Since we usually want our locations while on the move, that can be a burden. That's where AGPS come into the picture. AGPS, the A is for assistant, GPS, and AGPS adds cellular locations. You can hear that I can add that the SIM. Add cellular location data to assist geolocations. Your phone carriers know where you are since your phone pings cell towers, and how precise this is will depend on the strength of the signal between your phone and the towers, but it's usually good enough to be used for location data. And for testing, what we need to know for knowing our current location is the latitudes, longitudes, and altitude. And this webinar is not about going back to geography or going back to school, But it is important to understand these terms about latitudes, longitudes, when we are talking about location services. So latitudes are imaginary lines that measure distance north and south of the equators. And just take a look that north is positive numbers and south are negative numbers. Longitudes are imaginary lines that measure distance east and west of the prime meridian. And the east is positive and the west are negative number. Altitudes, how high a location is above sea level. And a good example to see these lines are using Google or from Google Earth. So if I will run Google Earth, so if we run Google Earth, we can actually, in the setting, we have, we can turn on and turn off this latitude and longitude lines, the grid lines. And we can see in the map all these lines. We can see the equators, we can see the prime meridians, and we can see the north and south and all these imaginary lines. If we go specific to a location, so let's say that I want to go to Tower Bridge in London. So in the Google Earth, I select Tower Bridge. So also in the Tower Bridge, I will see these imaginary lines. And if I go to Google Map and search for the Tower Bridge, I'll find this altitude, longitude. Pay attention that the longitude is in the west, okay? So if I open Google Map and set this coordinate, remove the north and the east and the west, actually, I will not be on the Tower Bridge because I'm in the east. So as I said, for the west, we need to put negative number. So I will put minus before the number, and then I will be, or should be, yes. So now I'm in the Tower Bridge. Okay, so that's a nice way to take a look on this, on the latitude and the latitudes and longitudes. So now that we understand the terms latitudes, longitudes, and altitudes, I want to show you how manually we can change the locations in emulators, simulators, and real device. So for my machines, I will open a simulators, okay, and we'll go to, and I will go to Royal Mail. I will not click on the service near me or use my locations. And just to make sure that, just to let you know that Royal Mail can only show services in the UK. Okay, so now I will open the same, I will open Android emulators, go to the Chrome, and from Chrome we'll load also the Royal Mail website. Okay, and now I will open a real device from source platforms. So I will see the list of devices, and I will select, scroll up, and I will select the Samsung Galaxy S9. And also here I will click, I will go and to the same web page. So now I have the 3 devices, and I click use my locations. I will need to give permission for Safari to use my locations. I will talk about this alert later. Okay, and also need to give permission to Royal Mail website. But now I will not get any services around me. It's empty. Do the same for the Android emulators. Okay, and also here I will not get any locations around me. Same for the real device. I click on use my locations, and this real device is located in the EU data center in Germany. So also I will not find any services also on the real device, on the Android real device. So let's go back to the simulators. Let's start with the simulators. Let's see where what is my locations. So if I open Google Map and try to click on, just give permissions, and I click on getting current locations, I will not get anything, just with syncing. So in iOS simulators, in the menu, I have locations, and I can see that the location by default is none. If I click, for example, on City Run, we will find that actually in the iOS simulator, the default location is in the Apple office in US, even that this iOS device, iOS simulator is in my machines. To change it, I can click locations, custom location. I will set the latitude and longitude of Tower Bridge. Okay, now I can see that in the Google Map, in the map, not in Google Map, in the iOS map, in the Apple map, I am in the Tower Bridge. And if I will go back to the Safari and to the Royal Mail website, and now if I click on use my locations, I can see that now I can find services around my current location, around Tower Bridge. And I can see the locations. I can verify that this is the right locations. And let's do the same for the emulators. So in the emulator, if I will go to the map to understand what is the current locations in Google Map, and I will click on getting current location, we will find out, just give permissions, we'll find out that we are not in London, but I'm actually in the Google office in the US. To change it, we have 3 dots in the menu. I can click on the locations, and here I can set a new location. So I can select for Tower Bridge in London. Click, okay, we can see that. Click on set locations. We'll close this menu. And if I click now getting current locations, I will be moved to Tower Bridge of London. And now if I want to continue with my testing on the Royal Mail website, if I open Chrome, and now if I click use my locations, also here for Android emulator, I will see my locations around the Tower Bridge. I can see that in the list. I can compare between the list between iOS and between the Android, find if it's the same list. Let's go to the real device. Also in SOSLab, we have in the menu, we have set GPS. I can click on the set GPS. Change the locations also to Tower Bridge. Click set GPS. And now we change our GPS to Tower Bridge. And if I click on use my locations, also on the real device in SOS platforms, I will get or should get the same list, and I can verify that this list is correct according to my current locations, that now is Tower Bridge in London. So just to summarize how we can change the location service manually. So iOS simulators, we have in the features, we can select location, custom locations, and we can change to the new location that we want. Android emulators, we have the 3 dots. We need to select the locations. We can set a new locations and click set locations. SOSLab real device, we also have in the menu set GPS. It's open. We can set the new latitude and longitudes. Click set GPS, and we set also the GPS in real device. So now let's understand how to set and get geolocations with Appium commands. So we are now in the automations, and I assume some of you said finally we arrived to the automations part. So let's understand how can we change the geolocation with Appium. So there is only one command, set location in Java, or set geolocation in JavaScript with WebDriver framework, and you can take a look what are the command in other languages to set a new GPS locations. And the parameters are the latitudes, longitudes, and altitudes of the new locations. And it works for all the platforms. So it works for emulators, simulators, real Android and iOS devices. To get my current locations, there is the command locations in Java, or get geolocations in WebDriver IO framework. And that support in Android, but in iOS, it's not supported due to changes in Apple. From my understanding, it should be supported again in the next versions of Appium. The demo app I will use in some of my demos and videos is a Source native app. So in this demo app, we can log in, and after that, we have the hamburger menus. And from the menu, I can test a few other features. I can test the web view or QR code scanners. But for this webinar, I will focus on testing the geolocations. So if I click on the geolocations, I will get my current locations. For developing automated tests on mobile apps, we are using Appium. We are using Selenium to develop automated scripts for web and browsers, and use Appium to develop automated scripts on mobile for native app or for web app on mobile. Appium Desktop, that you can see that in the screen, is a UI tool that can help us to start Appium server, locate element on our app, and run Appium commands. In this demo, I want to show you how I can change my locations, this time to Eiffel Towers in Paris, using Appium command inside Appium Desktop. So this is my real device. Okay, this is my real Android device that I connected to my machine, to my laptop. ADB devices, I can see that this is my device is connected. Now from Appium Desktop, I start the server, my local server. If I click, and I will connect with Appium Desktop to my device. So I need to select the right capability. So the right capability is the platform name Android, and this is the application, the demo app that I will install, even that I didn't use that for this demo. And now Appium server will connect with Appium server. I connected to my device. Now I open Google Map. And let's see how we can change my location on my real device. So I refresh the Appium Desktop, that we will see the same. In Appium Desktop, we have actions. In the actions, we can select the sessions. And in the sessions, we have geolocations in the menu. Clicking on the geolocations, I have get geolocation, the Appium command get geolocation, and set geolocation. I can click on the set geolocations, and I need to provide the new locations. So this is the location I found in the internet, the locations of Eiffel Towers. I will set the new locations, execute the Appium command. And now if I click on getting my current locations, in the Google map, I will be in Eiffel Tower. Also, if I refresh the Appium Desktop, you can see that the same in the Appium Desktop. We said that for Android, get geolocation should work. So if I click on get geolocations, okay, I will get back my locations. Let's do the same for iOS simulators. So I will start Appium Desktop with iOS simulators, device iPhone 11, platform 14, and also install the demo app. So let me log in, go to the hamburger menu, select geolocations. Okay, now let's change these locations. Again, Appium Desktop, I click on the actions, sessions, and geolocation from the menu. I click set geolocations, and I will type the locations of Eiffel Towers. I will execute this action. iOS simulator is Appium open the a pop-up and set the new locations. I can also open Apple Maps, and I can see that now I'm in Eiffel Towers. For iOS, we say that I told you that the geolocation, the get geolocation is not can't be used for now. So if I click on get geolocations, we will get an error that this method has not yet been implemented. And as I said, hopefully in the next versions of Appium, it will be supported again. So let's start with iOS and understand how to automate end-to-end user flow for business or user flow or business flow that include location services. When we want to automate end-to-end user flow, we need to think about preparations. We want to make sure that the location services is enabled in the settings. Permission alerts. We need to give permission to the app to get our current locations. And after that, after we give permissions, we can test and continue in our business flow. And I can have the flow with these alerts. If we already gave permissions for the app on this device, we can have the flow without the alerts. So I can just see the next page without the alerts. And after I run it on different devices, suddenly I get a different permission. So I get a different permission alert with two options. So we need to think about all of this flow and how to automate these flows. So let's start with the preparations with the location services in the setting. So we can enable the location services if needed, and that can be done one time for all the tests that run on the same device. For simulators, the default is to enable location, so we sometimes don't need to run a code to change it. Also for local devices or on the cloud, if it's private devices, maybe we can set it one time and no need to check. But if we're using devices on the public cloud, we can't be sure that it's enabled. So this is a code that I developed in Java that open the setting and check the location services enabled. If it's not, it will click and enable the location services. This example can be found in a repository, in a public repository, in my public repository. And very quickly about this code. So actually in this code, we open the setting and we make sure that the context is native apps, because maybe we started from web applications. I will scroll to the privacy. When I found it, I will click on that. So I will click on the privacy, and after that, I will click on the location services. And after that, I will make sure, I will check that the attribute of the value, if the attribute value is 0, it means that it's disabled, and I will click on that. And I can show you how it's actually done. So this is a Java code that I'm using, test and G with XML file that I'm running. So I will start the executions, and I run on specific device that before that I disabled the location services. So while it's run, I can see what is going on. So I will click on the test that currently run. And the setting is open. And we are scrolling to the privacy. We find the privacy item. We click on that. We click on the location services. We found out that the location services are disabled. We click on that to make it enabled, and we can continue with our test. What about the permission alerts? As I told you, we have 2 types of permission alerts, and that depends on the iOS versions. So for iOS 13 and above, we have permission alert with 3 options. For iOS 12 and below, we have permission alert with 2 options. And how to handle alert with 2 options? With Appium capability, we have the capability how to accept alerts, to accept the alerts. This is an example that if I'm using that, set capability how to accept alert with the value true. And when the alerts will pop up, Appium will click allow for me. How to handle alert with 3 options. Actually, this is something that I didn't know before the webinar. If I have 2 options to accept the locations, because I can click on allow once and I can click on allow while using the app. So if I have 2 options to accept the location services, how can I select which one will be selected? So in Appium, we have settings. And in the setting, I have a setting that's called accept alerts button selector. And using these settings, I can select and decide what will be the buttons that will be selected. So in this case, I am using the allow while using the app. So whenever, if this alert will pop up, Appium will click on the allow while using app for me. And after the alerts, we continue with the user flows. In this case, I developed 2 tests. I changed the GPS locations to Eiffel Towers in the first one, and to Tower Bridge in the second one, and checked in the value and checked. Okay, and so here I use the Appium command set locations. I changed the locations, and after that, I verify that the location was changed according to what I changed it. Let's move on to Android and how to automate end-to-end user flow that include location services. In the preparations, the location services in Android settings can be in different places. So that's one place, but it can also be in this place and look different. And this depends on brand, versions, and probably more parameters. The permission alert, also in Android, we have 2 types of permission alert. We have the 3 alerts with 3 options, and we have the alerts with 2 options. And after that, we can continue and test our services. To enable or disable location services, we can use ADB Share Commands. The ADB Share Commands depend on the API levels or the Android versions. So for example, this is the ADB command that can be used. So if I select Android emulators API level 30, okay, and in the setting, I will go to the setting to the location services. ADB devices, just to make sure that the emulator is connected. And now I will run the command locations mode 0, and you can see that use locations is disabled. Change it to 3, and I can enable that. I've selected different API level 27. And now I need to run a different ADB share commands. So here, if I select allowed minus GPS, it's disabled, and plus GPS, it will be, I will enable the location services. ADB share commands can't be used on all the platforms. Therefore, I found another solutions. If the location services is disabled, so there will be another pop-up alert. So after this pop-up alert that I need to give permissions to, in this case, to the app to use my locations, there will be another pop-up that said, for a better experience, turn on device locations, which use Google location services. If I click on the OK, this will enable the location services in the settings. The permission alert, we have two types of permission alerts, and that depends on Android versions. So the 3 options are for Android 10 and above, and the 2 options are for Android 9 and below. How to handle alert with 2 options. In Appium, we have the auto grant permissions capability that will work for true, but also for 3 options. And this is an example, auto grant permission. We need to give the values true to enable the auto grant permissions. Using this capability, the pop-up is not shown. Okay, before the execution, Appium grant the permissions for the alerts. So when we click on geolocations, we will get directly to the page that we want to test. We will not see the pop-up because it was already handled by Appium. Because there is no UI when using this capability, so actually I didn't know, and we don't select which options we want to select it from the 2 allow options. I wanted to check what options Appium selected for me. So after I run automated script, I went to the settings. So I click on the setting, and from the setting I click on the locations to select this locations. From the location, I click on the application that I tested. Here I can select permission, and from the permissions I click on the location. What are the permissions? The location permissions for this app. And I found out that even that in the UI, we have 3 options. In reality, or there is 4 options, and Appium will select the allow all the times. In the end-to-end user flow, I developed 2 tests, as I said. One to change the geolocation to Eiffel Towers, and the second to change the geolocation to Tower Bridge. And I handle all the alerts for the different versions and operating systems. This is an example how I can execute the 2 tests with test-ng Java framework, and I control the running in parallel from test-ng XML file. So here I set the maximum parallel to 20, so I can run maximum of 20 devices in parallel. I run all the tests in parallel on all the mobile combinations, iOS and Android, read devices, emulators, and simulators, and also in different versions. Here I set the read devices. So and I allocated 4 devices, 2 Android and 2 iOS. And also in the same XML file, I allocated the simulators and the emulators. And if I will run this, I can show you how it's run. Okay, so from Java, I select the XML file that contain all the combinations. I will start the executions. And now if I'll go to source, I can see virtual cloud. I can see that I have 8 emulators that are running. Read devices allocated 4, so I can see that the 4 are running in parallel. I can select one of them, the iOS. And I can see that now I open the location, make sure that the location services are enabled in the setting. Now continue with my test, log in to the app. Okay, handle the alerts. And after that, I verify that I'm in the right locations. Select another executions. And this execution already finished. So I will select the Android. Let's select the Android device that now is running. So it's also for Android, I log in. Select GeoLocations, and you notice that there is no alerts because, as I said, in this case for Android, Appium already grant the permissions and know how to handle that. And in this way, I run all the combinations for simulator, emulators, read devices. And if I go back to the Java, I can see that all the tests, all the 16 tests finished to run. So that was about native apps that we run. What about running automations on websites? Do we get the same alerts? Do we handle them the same? So let's first see execution I run on Google Map. For iOS, I run it on Google Map. And for Android, I run it on Metrobank that I show you the example in the beginning of the webinar. So I will go first of all to iOS that I run it on Google Map. So I will see that in web app, actually we have 2 alerts. First of all, we need to give permission to Safari for the browser. So first of all, we need to give permission to Safari to use my locations. And after, we need to give permissions to the website. At this time, it's Google, to use my locations. And now we change the locations. So we have 2 alerts, not only one alert, one from the browsers and one from the website. Let's see what is going on with Android. So in Android, I run it on different websites. I run it on Metrobank. So you can see that also in Metrobanks, I have 2 alerts. One alert is from the website. In this case, it's Metrobank. And the second one is from the browser. In this case, it's the Chrome. So we can see that there is a different Okay, so we can see that there is a different, that in web applications, we have 2 alerts that we need to know how to handle. Before we can handle alerts pop-up in web app, we need to understand that the alerts are on native context, and we are in the web, so we are in the web context. So first of all, we should save the web context. So you can see here that I save my current context, my current web context, and after that I can continue with my test, continue with my web scenarios. And when we need to end the alert, we need to switch to the native app. And after that, I use try and catch to end the alerts. Okay. Again, there can be 2 types of alerts. There is alerts from the browser, from Safari, and alerts can be another alerts from the website. I use try and catch to end the alerts. I didn't use the Appium capability as we did for the native apps, since I need to switch to the native context to allow Appium to end the alerts. And I don't know when I can switch back to the web context and continue with my test. So I prefer to handle the alerts and wait 2 seconds for every alert and click on the allow buttons if it appears. And after that, I can switch back to the context. And also here you can find the code in the repository in test and geolocations example in my repository. So let's talk about something new. We talked till now about GPS, Appium, and changing geolocations. Let's talk about something new. So let's do as before. So now, so again, I open a device, I change the location to change my location to Tower Bridge in London. Okay, we can see I'm in the center of Tower Bridge. I also can open the maps to make sure that I'm really in London. Okay, click on getting current locations, and yes, I'm in the Tower Bridge. Now let's say that I want to open Domino's Pizza in the UK to test that, and I can see that actually I will get access denied. I can't access to Domino's Pizza in the UK. Just to make sure that there's no problem with the website, I will do that on my machines. Again, I'm located in London, and I have no problem to reach to this website. So the website is up and running. Let's go to a different website. GiftGraph is a mobile company in the UK. And so let's open the website. As you can see, I can manage to reach to this website. And I want to order a free SIM. And when I click on order free SIM, I will get the title. I get the message coming to the UK. But why they said welcome to the UK? Can they see me? I'm in the Tower Bridge. And again, if I go to the same website, to the GiftGraph website, in my device, in my browsers, I will not get this message. But from here, from a location that it's outside the UK, even that I change the GPS, I will get the message coming to the UK. So let's understand why. The reason is Geo-IP. And even that I changed my geolocations to London, Still, the IP address of the device wasn't changed. An IP address is assigned to each device, for example, computer, printer, mobile, participating in computer network that use the internet protocols for communications. And that can't be changed by changing the geolocations as we did till now. So how to change my geolocation? How can I change my Geo-IP? We can use VPN. And we recommend to our user about the Wonder Proxy because that easily integrated with source platforms. And just to let you know that using VPN is not free services, and payment need to be done or by subscriptions. And in a very high level, how can we use and create a secure tunnels with VPN? We can see that I created tunnels between my machines, okay, and source platform and source data center, and also connected the proxy, the VPN services. And when I send an HTTP request, for example, get domains Domino's COIK, get to the Domino's COIK, this request will be sent to the device in Source Labs, and from here via the secure tunnel to my machines, and from my machines to the proxy server. And the proxy return response to the Source Connect clients and via the tunnels back to the device. So I can show you how it's run. So this is the basic command that I can run for my machines. In this command, I have the source credentials, and I also want to connect to London proxy to use the VPN in London, and need to give Wonder Proxy credentials. And now when I will run this command, I will create a secure tunnels between my machines and Source Labs. Okay, I can see that a tunnel was created. And also in the logs, I can see that using proxy, 1 second, I can see that we're using proxy in London. So now when I select the same device or a different device and select this tunnel that now we created, and try again to reach to the same website. So now when I want to try to reach again to the Domino's Pizza in the UK, so now I managed to reach to this website. Same for the gift graph. Now I'll open the gift graph website, accept all cookies. And if I now click order your free SIM, I will not get the message coming to the UK because the website thinks that I'm actually in the UK. This is from my side. Now it's your turn to ask questions.
Great, thank you so much for that, Eyal. That was a great presentation. We've now got about 10 minutes for Q&A. As a reminder, you still can submit some questions through the Q&A pane at the bottom of your screen. I see that we've had a question from Fatima that you've actually already answered during the presentation, but we'll give you all some more time to ask questions. In the meantime, we had a couple of questions via email. The first being, Why for the web app did you use try and catch to wait for the alerts and not use Appium capabilities as you did for the native app?
Okay, so I think that I mentioned that during the webinar that with the web app, the issue is that the problem, not the issue, but the alerts are in the native context and we are reaching from a web context. So if I will switch to the native context, actually, I don't know when Appium will finish to handle the alerts. And I cannot check if, for example, an element is displayed because this element is with the web context. So in this case, I prefer to switch to the native context, and then these alerts that I know what alerts need to be shown, and just wait 2 or 3 seconds for each alert. In the worst case, I will waste 5 seconds in my test instead of using Appium capability and trust, and I don't know when to switch back to the web view.
Great, thank you for that. And another question that we have is, how do I know if I need to change my geolocation or to use a VPN?
Okay, that's a good question that I didn't mention in the webinar. So actually, first of all, we can try, but mostly if we are looking for services, as I show you in the beginning of the webinar about looking for services around me, if I'm looking for a restaurant, for something specific to a street or to a postcode, probably I need to change my geolocation. I need to change my GPS. But if I need to reach to a website that it's depend on the country, not just about street, so mostly I will need to change my and use VPN for that, for be able to test this website.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Eyal. That's all the questions that we had. Obviously, you can all submit questions after the event as well to the webinar@sourcelabs.com email address. When you exit the webinar, you receive a survey on the presentation, and we'd appreciate it if you would provide your feedback on that brief survey. You'll also receive a follow-up email shortly with links to view the recording and the slides from today. If you enjoyed the event, we hope that you'll join us for our upcoming conference, SourceCon Online. We recently announced the full agenda, and registration is now open at sourcecon.com. So on behalf of Eyal, thank you for joining us and enjoy the rest of your day.